What is going on today? Daniel here, Mr. Cuervo Racing, and today I am going to talk about the common mistakes that are made when people order a lockout or go to install a lockout. Now, start this off by saying we take care of some of these things before our lockouts ever go in the mail. But if you get one from someone else or direct, then you should look and make sure that these things are done before you try to install your new lockout on your Raptor 700. Some other bikes this may apply to as well. So let's start off by saying when you get your lockout, inspect, make sure you have all your parts. There'll be a few components: your main cover, your outer, and then your kit with the lockup mechanism, pull pin, bolts, and whatnot. Make sure you have everything there. From there, you want to, even though this stuff comes packaged nicely, you want to inspect and clean. Verify that everything is thoroughly cleaned. So from there, the common mistakes that are missed are easily done, easily rectified, and this is what we do. So we have a check ball, spring, and seal that go in right here in the cover. Now what this does is it seals, this seal is going to seal between the cover and the case, but what it's doing is it keeps oil from draining back through the pump. It keeps it in your oil filter, so your system stays primed. So this is easily rectified, as simple as that. Put the spring, put the ball, push that seal in by hand. This is commonly overlooked. This seal can get damaged. There is, let's see, a little lip right there on the edge. That gets damaged sometimes. If you pull a cover off or whatever, we put a new seal in there. If you find when you're doing an oil change that your oil filter doesn't have oil in it, that it's pretty much dry when you pull it off, means that the oil drained back either through the seal is damaged, the clutch cover gasket could be damaged. You always hear us talk about using these kinetic reusable gaskets. Basically, if this area tears, then oil will drain through there as well. So that's why we use those gaskets quite a bit, pretty much on everything possible. The next setup is the end of your crank, the seal that seals the end of your crank so it gets proper oil feed. This seal is going to go in the case here. Now, due to being on camera, I'm not, basically you're going to press that in or tap it in with a hammer or socket, whatever you prefer to use to seat that flush. Because we're on camera, I'm not going to do that, but I do Loctite the bolts. The factory bolts are Allen head. I use these 8 mils. And then this retainer plate goes on top there. It's a guard retainer plate for that seal, so that seal doesn't get pushed out. Now, something I do and some of the other shops do for quite a while here that's different on this seal is this seal. You can see this side of it has a spring, this side of it's a brown burgundy color. From the factory, this seal is installed in this direction. In my professional opinion, as well as others, it should be installed in this position. Now, when you install it in the factory position, when you go to put the crank on, this edge is easily, let's see if I can get a better picture here. That edge sticks out, and it's easy for the crankshaft to damage that and pull down that edge. Sorry if the camera's not focusing here. So that's one thing, but on a seal on pressure, anything that has any amount of pressure behind it, this spring should always be on the pressure side. So pressure is feeding through the channel here to the back of that seal, and the pressure on the back of the seal will actually push this lip onto the crank and make a tighter seal. What is weird is Yamaha puts these in what would be normally backwards to everything else. Now, early on, about 10 years ago now, we started swapping those to run them in this orientation. I looked at, my father-in-law had a V-Star street bike, and we pulled off his clutch cover on his V-Star, and it uses the same exact seal. His bike actually uses the same oil pump on that bike, and it is installed in the position that we put it in now. So 6 dozen, you know, 6 the other, half dozen, 6 the other, whatever you say. Now, I prefer to go that way on it. I know it's different than factory. Other shops that we talked to about it as well choose to do it this way as well. It makes more sense. So that's a couple things that are easily overlooked. There's one last thing. We're racking up time on this video here, but one last thing is most of these clutch covers will come and they are powder coated over where this copper O-ring goes for your banjo bolt. That's the line that feeds the head. If you don't scrape off that powder coat, if it's over powder coated, you know, sometimes it's missed. Most of them are powder coated over. That's going to leak because the copper is going to push into that powder coat as it gets hot, and that's going to leak. So the other one that is here is the fuel plug, basically on the side here, oil fill plug. Most people don't use it, but this having powder coat on it really doesn't matter. It just has an O-ring that seals against that, and it'll seal up fine, but you need to check the edge of this and make sure that powder coat is not protruding into those threads. So before you ever go to put it on your bike, you need to inspect those areas, install the seals. If it didn't come with us, like I said, we do the seal install for all of our stuff before it ever goes in the mail to you. That is about it on these lockup covers, what to look for. Another thing we can touch on real quick is you see these lines inside here. A lot of guys will freak out and think that's cracked. This is very normal. It's casting flash, or the edge of that casting shows lines that look like it's cracked, but it's not. They will almost all have that. This one has it. This one doesn't. And this one, oop, wrong hole. That one does. So, all right, guys, that is it. I know I haven't done any videos in a little while. Hope this helps, and let me know what you think on that seal install. All right, we'll talk to you soon.